everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Umineko. The last time we left off, Rosa showed off her authority with her gun, and Kanon became some kind of puppet controlled by Beatrice. It was really creepy, really weird, and I was extremely confused still by the purpose of these debates between Battler and Beatrice, but I think now I know more. Anyway, without further ado, let's just get right into today's episode.
南條先生と熊沢さんが一体どういうことなの？
シャノン、無事でよかった。君に何かあったら僕は。
庄司様。
And Shannon almost died. Thank goodness Genji held her back.
ジョージ君少し静かにして。
Damn, Rosa.
あなたたちの目の前で殺人が行われたんでしょ。犯人を見たの？見ないの？
それが何と説明すればいいのか。源氏さん。
私たちにも見たものをうまく説明できません。
確かにそれは私たちの目の前で起こりました。私の目の前にいた。だけれどあれは何だったんだ。私にもわからないんです。
Me too. Even I don't understand.
何を言ってるの？あなたが出会ったのは昨夜から所在不明の魔女ベアトリーチェか、行方不明になっているカノン君かのどちらかしかありえない。男か女か、それだけでも答えられるでしょう。
ローザおばさん、少し落ち着けって。目の前で二人やられりゃ誰だって混乱だってする。ゴダさん、ゲンジさん、焦らなくていいぜ。何があったのか順を追って話してくれ。
それが何を私は言えばいいのか。
Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san had been killed. We understood that much. And it seemed that it had occurred in front of their eyes. But even so, they spoke awkwardly. They admitted that they had definitely seen the crime with their own two eyes. But when asked to explain what they had seen, their mouths went suddenly shut. I could understand why Auntie Rosa was irritated and losing her patience.
シャノン、君は見たのかい？南條先生が襲われるところ。
はい。
僕に教えて。わかることだけでもいい。
I think they might be also reluctant to say why it was Kanon who killed them, because they also know that it's not the real Kanon, but no one in this parlor who did not see the murder would take their word for it. They would just assume they were confused and it really was Kanon who actually killed Nanjo and Kumasawa, but everyone else, every one of the servants know that it's not actually the real Kanon who did it.
一体何があったの？
勝手口に来たんです。
そうです。勝手口に誰かがやってきたんです。そして誰だろうと私は扉を開けました。
勝手口に誰か？それは誰？
最後まで言わせてやれ。それから
そいつは血まみれで大怪我をしていました。私たちは使用人室に運び、すぐに南條先生が手当てをしました。
They're still being so vague about who it is.
とても深い傷でした。
だからそれは誰のことなの？
わからないんです。確かに最初はそうだと思っていました。いや、今でもそうだと思ってるんです。でもあれは一体わからない。
In a manner that didn't match his large body, Gohda held his head and scratched at it. I still didn't have a clue whether he was confused because he couldn't remember, or whether he was confused because he had seen something terrifying and couldn't accept it. And Shannon looked the same way. If she let her guard down, what she had seen just a short while ago would quickly melt away like a daydream, and she wouldn't even be able to remember what she saw. That's what she looked like. Only Genji looked composed as usual, so the questions were naturally directed at Genji. But even Genji had to take quite some time to gather his thoughts before he opened his mouth.
源氏さん、あなたは見たんでしょう。勝手口に来たのは誰？
Her voice is so aggressive.
はじめ、私たちはその人物がカノンであると信じました。
ほら、やっぱり生きていたでしょ。私の推理は正しかった。
はじめはってことは、後にその認識は変わるってこと？
はい。その後に起こったことは口では説明できません。南條先生と熊沢を殺し、そして姿を消しました。その時、彼は間違いなくカノンではありませんでした。
そうなんです。源氏さんの言う通りなんですよ。口ではとても説明できない。
君も同じ意見なのかい？
はい。
And even Shannon was the very first to realize that it wasn't Kanon.
私も同じことしか申し上げられません。
If we interpreted what they were saying favorably, it meant that Auntie Rosa's conclusion had been correct from the beginning. Kanon-kun had appeared from the back door in the kitchen with a serious injury. Then he had been taken to the servant room and cared for. Then something terrifying had happened. Since these people couldn't imagine that Kanon-kun could have pulled that off, they had started to suspect whether that really had been Kanon-kun. Is that how things are? In other words, this meant Kanon-kun had appeared. No matter how confused they were, no matter how muddled their words, that's what it meant in the end. So had Kanon-kun indeed used some trick to escape that room while it was locked? No, that doesn't matter anymore. The real problem is that Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san were killed. Auntie Rosa had claimed that Kanon-kun was behind this from the very beginning. No matter how confused they became, and no matter how much they tried to deny it, they were halfway saying that it was the truth. But even so, for some reason, I felt like their awkwardness couldn't be explained just by confusion. What had they seen? Like they said, had they really seen something unexplainable with words? Auntie Rosa, having decided that she wouldn't be able to get any more out of them, concluded her questioning and said that she wanted to check the two bodies. I was also interested in that. Even if these people didn't have a clue what was going on in their confusion, if those of us who hadn't been at the scene calmly looked at their bodies, we might find something. But it was a little surprising that Auntie Rosa was also concerned about the bodies, just like I was. You know, I don't like this. I don't like how the story is pushing us to think about Auntie Rosa, or Rosa, as the culprit. It seems a bit too obvious. Do you know what I mean? It's like dangling it right in front of you. It's bait. Even at this point, I still wanted to expose the culprit and the truth myself if we could find any clues. But Auntie Rosa should have been different. Hasn't Auntie Rosa's plan given a higher priority to staying safe than to finding the culprit? That's what I thought too. I couldn't really see why Auntie Rosa wanted to check the body so badly that she would deliberately leave our fort in the parlor.
みんなで一緒に使用人室に行きます。全員一緒に行動すれば安全よ。マリア、落書き遊びはおしまいになさい。
The only thing I can think of is that Rosa really is the culprit. And it's possible, and it seems like the story wants to push you to that conclusion. But precisely because of it, it makes me doubt my initial theory about Rosa. And makes me wonder if it really is someone else. But still, Rosa is extremely suspicious just from her own actions.
おお、落書きじゃない。ベアトリーチェの問題を解いてるの。おお。
Problem? The riddle?
ベアトリーチェの問題？何のことだよ。俺にも教えてくれよ。
ローザおばさん、マリアちゃんも連れて行くんですか？
It seemed that George Aniki had some resistance to bring Maria to the bloody crime scene. Right, any normal person would. But taking into consideration the fact that Maria would be left alone here, it would surely be much safer if we took Maria with us. In the end, it was just Aniki's irresponsible humanism. We decided that all of us, including Maria, would go to the servant room. The bed in the servant room was stained with bright red blood. No, not just the bed. The whole room was covered with a gruesome paint from countless bloodstains. That dreadful scene alone was enough to give us an idea of the repulsive sight they had been trying to describe.
おお、マリアも見る。
マリアちゃんは僕と一緒にここで待ってようね。
George Aniki was standing by the entrance, covering Maria's eyes with his back to the room. He probably didn't want to dirty an innocent girl's retinas with the repulsive red in this room. That was surely the correct decision. I was acting tough right now, so I didn't mind, but I would probably remember this room and start to vomit whenever I saw red paint scattered around, for the rest of my life. My retinas already had this room burned into them. In other words, it was too late for me.
あら？
どこへ？
The bodies? Right after they entered the servant room, Gohda-san and Shannon-chan appeared flustered. We shook, wondering what horrible new situation had arisen to fluster them for a second time.
どうした？何事？
Auntie Rosa also shuddered, raised her gun high, and searched for whatever it was that had shaken them. But she couldn't find it, which wasn't surprising. They were shaken because they couldn't find it.
なんだなんだ。
二人の遺体がありません。
どういうことなの？
そんなはずないんです。確かにお二人はここに。
おいおいおい、なんだよ、死体がどこかへ歩いてったってのか。そんなわけはないだろ。だってこの使用人室は施錠されてたんだろ。それを今ゴーダさんが開けて入ったわけじゃないか。ってことはなんだ、ジェシカの部屋と同じってことかよ。また3つの中から消えたってのかよ。
Another locked room again.
そんなバカな。
私にも何のことやらさっぱり。私たちはこの部屋を出るとき、確かに鍵をかけて、私こそ何が何やらもう。
There was a timid and pitiful smile on Gohda-san's face that he definitely wouldn't have let show normally. Shannon was the same.
2人の死体が消えた。 しかも鍵をかけたのに消えた。仮にカノン君が犯人だとしても、カノン君はマスターキーをもう持ってないはず。
But Kumasawa has the key, so even if it was Kanon, he could still lock the room. And my other possible theory would be that either one of them, Nanjo or Kumasawa, was an accomplice and didn't actually die. So, you know, classic, the death was staged, and so one of them weren't actually dead. And after all the servants left, they just carried the bodies out the room or out the window, since it's raining anyway, and dumped the body outside. Possibly, that could be the case. What might actually be the case maybe would be that Beatrice just erased their existence. Who knows? Still, I think this is a little more easier to explain than Jessica's room.
違います。カノン君は犯人じゃありません。
シャノン、僕はシャノンを信じるよ。カノン君は犯人なんかじゃない。きっとこれは彼によく似た何者かの仕業なんだ。
That's really reaching a lot, but I admire their persistence to the truth.
いいえ、カノン君はマスターキーを手に入れられたわよ。だって彼のマスターキーはジェシカちゃんの遺体のポケットから見つかった。そしてその鍵は誰が手に入れた？
そうだ、南條先生が。
That's right. Back then, it definitely had been Dr. Nanjo who searched through Jessica's clothes and found the master key. So if someone had the opportunity to search Dr. Nanjo's corpse, it would have been so easy for them to take the master key back. Auntie Rosa searched under the bed and in the locker. By now, I also understood what that meant. If you assume that there had been two culprits, it could be easily explained. The first person was Kanon-kun, or maybe an imposter that looked like him. He had finished off Dr. Nanjo and ran off somewhere. The second person was probably the 19th person, Beatrice, whose location was unknown. She had hidden under the bed in the servant room beforehand, and with Dr. Nanjo's body still enshrined here, she had waited for Genji-san and the rest to leave. Then, after that, she had crawled out, taken the master key back from Dr. Nanjo's pocket, and carried the two bodies away for some reason. If she had then locked the room with the master key, this locked room would be created.
ジェシカの部屋の推理を前提になかなか素早く組み立ててきたものよ。その方法なら魔法でなくても密室は作り出せよ。
Yeah.
まずは及第点というところか。
Yes, please.
しかし実に面白いが、お前は一つ忘れてはならぬことがあるぞ。お前の言う方法で犯人がマスターキーを取り返したなら、その犯人はマスターキーをジェシカの遺体から南條が回収したことを知っていたことになる。
I was actually thinking about this, that to create the locked room, they would have had to known about that Nanjo took the key. Wait, but does Kumasawa not have a key on her? There are 5 keys and 5 servants, so wouldn't she have the key? That's also the other line of reasoning here. But in any case, even if they didn't know that Nanjo had the key, and if Kumasawa didn't have the key, they might still want to check their bodies for anything of value that might help them. Possibly.
言われなくても分かってるぜ。あの時、あの場にいた人物以外知り得ない情報だって言いてんだろ。この第三の密室があっさり破られちまったもんで、同じネタの繰り返しは芸がないぜ。
Even though I was acting tough, that move of the witches hurt bad. I could feel cracks forming in the thing I wanted most to deny. She's trying to close in on me from two directions. On the one hand, there's the frontal attack where she tries to force me to believe in witches using locked room tricks that only a witch could do. And on the other hand, there's the rear attack where she tries to lure me into thinking it would be better if there was a witch by strengthening my suspicions of those close to me. I get that a lot. In the first locked room, the chapel, she had used the frontal attack, but it hadn't worked on me. That's undoubtedly why, with the second locked room, and now the third, she started to change the direction of her attack. However, the fact that she was changing the direction of her attack also proved that my resistance was working a little. And she had surely given up on the frontal attack because she couldn't just win directly with it. I tried to force myself to accept my own position by thinking that. But it seemed that the witch had seen through these thoughts of mine long ago, because she can read minds, right?
成功法は書かぬ。絡めては成功法と同時に進めてこそ意味がある。絡めてのみに出するは、手段が目的となった時に起こる愚策に過ぎぬぞ。
そうですかい。じゃあ、お得意の赤で、何者かが使用人室に隠れていたを復唱してもらおうじゃないか。
その必要はない。お前の推理の前提は、今から崩れる。
Oh?
お拒否かよ。やっぱり誰かが隠れていたんだな。
ローザが今からお前の前提を崩す。
How does she know? Can she read the future as well? Or is everything already played out from start to finish?
まあ、耳を傾けてみよう。
信じてください、ローザ様。確かにここに2人の遺体を安置したんです。この床の真っ赤な血は彼らのものなのです。
Oh, maybe Rosa is going to accuse all the remaining servants of actually murdering Nanjo and Kumasawa. In that case, they could easily create a locked room and also account for all the culprits because 2 people were taken out. She's gonna call them wolves! Auntie Rosa began to search through various objects around the room, her back to Gohda-san as he cried out in supplication. But with her back to Gohda-san, that might mean she doesn't see them as the culprits? Eventually, she found something and for a while stopped moving.
ローザ様、私たちは断じて嘘などついては。間違いなく2人の遺体はここにあったんです。
静かに。死体を隠した本人は、死体はよそに持ち去ったと告白しているわ。
What?
これでね。
Rosa showed them a single sheet of paper over her shoulder.
それは一体。
Another letter?
まさか。礼拝堂にあったのと同じ、紋章入りの封筒の手紙。
ええ、そうよ。ここに堂々と置いてあったわ。読むわね。後宮家の皆様、黄金の碑文の謎解きはいよいよ佳境に入りましたでしょうか。皆さんに私を止めることができる唯一の方法が碑文の謎を解くことなのです。それ以外のいかなる方法をもってしても私と儀式を止めることはできません。くれぐれも皆さんの目的をお間違いなきようよろしくお願い申し上げます。私を探そうとも無駄、私から逃れようとも無駄、私を否定しようとも無駄なのです。黄金のベアトリーチェ。追伸、2人の遺体を儀式にお借りします。後ほどご返却いたしますので、 ご容赦をお願いいたします。あと、この鍵は皆様のものですので、ご返却いたします。
Oh my goodness. As Rosa read that aloud, the contents of the envelope lay exposed on the palm of her hand. They were 2 master keys. The master key that Nanjo had found in Jessica's pocket, which had originally been Kanon's, and Kumasawa's master key.
なんだとってことは、ふざけんなよ、またかよ。またマスターキーを持ってる使用人しか疑えないってのかよ。
わらわは赤では言ってはおらぬぞ。彼らがこの部屋に施錠をして去った時、この部屋に何者かが隠れていた可能性を否定してはおらぬぞ。
I can still think of a reason why the keys might be there, but that would... No, not at all. It wouldn't even need the key to be outside. No. Okay, what I'm trying to say is... Okay, so what I wanted to say was, I can think of a scenario where the keys were not in this room the whole time, and that the room was locked with this set of keys. But that would have to involve Rosa, because Rosa was the first one to find the envelope, and the envelope contained the keys. So let's say it was Rosa who killed them. But the thing was, Rosa was in the parlor, right? So that kind of destroys my theory. But let's just entertain that thought. So Rosa, or someone that is working with Rosa, killed everyone, or killed the 2 of them, and locked the room, and then put the keys in the envelope. Afterwards, Rosa has the envelope and goes to open the door. No, like one of them opens the door, and she can conveniently pick up that envelope and say, "Hey, there are keys in here." So it can't be. But this theory would probably only work if Rosa is working with someone like, let's say, Genji. I don't know why. Genji's always suspicious. Just because. But I also don't like this theory because it feels like I'm being forced to go about it in this way. But anyway, we shall see.
ベッドの下にでも隠れれば、死体をどこかへ運び出すのはできないことじゃない。しかし、それじゃ施錠ができない。わざわざ手に入れたマスターキーをここへ置いてっちまってる。そうだ、忘れてた。この部屋の本来の鍵である使用人室の鍵はどうなっている？
Oh my, I forgot about that too.
それなら使用人室の奥のキーボックスに収められているぞ。使用人室の鍵は数本あるが、そのすべてがキーボックスに収められている。
ってことは、ジェシカの部屋の鍵の時と状況は何も変わらないってことか。使用人も便利なマスターキーがあれば、不要な鍵はわざわざ持ち歩かないもんな。キーボックスにしまわれっぱなしになってるのも納得だぜ。
その他の条件も何も変わらぬ。
Really?
出入りは唯一の扉と唯一の窓から以外は不可能。
Let's just assume that even if entry and exit are impossible for the door, except for the door and the window, that other things, other conditions might have changed. And I think it's quite likely that they did, but still, it's hard to think of what they could be, aside from what I already said before.
故に、隠し扉などの不正規な出入り手段は否定される。
Okay, and I'm gonna assume since she didn't say this in red, that there is other possible ways, maybe irregular methods through the door and the window.
喜べ名探偵ども。そしてそれらはいずれも施錠されていた。扉も窓も施錠時にはいかなる出入りも許さない。 つまり施錠を維持したまま扉を外す、隙間を作ってすり抜けるなどなどは通用しないということだ。
That doesn't make sense. I mean, in the real world, that could always work.
当然だが、扉の開錠は使用人室の鍵とマスターキー以外は不可能。毎回これを読み上げるのも面倒だの。今度これをまとめて一言に略す言葉でも考えよう。
だがこの部屋に誰かが隠れていたことは復唱できねえだろ。しかしそれだけでは密室の扉が破れない。ああ、クソクソ。ダメだダメだ、全然ダメだ。
お得意のチェス盤をひっくり返すとやらはどうした？自慢の陳説をぜひ披露してみよ。
チェス盤をひっくり返す。俺が犯人ならどうする？死体をどこかへ運び出す。手紙を残す。内側から鍵を閉める。
I think the problem with this is thinking that everything was done by the culprit. Like leaving the letter or locking the door. It could always be different people with different motives for doing what they did.
ここから何かの方法で部屋を脱出すればいいんだ。くそ、そんな方法はあるのか。扉と窓以外からは外に出られないと赤で言われちまってる。
At that moment, I got it. What did he get? That's right. Carry the corpses, leave the ladder. And not rely on a hidden door. In other words, not even able to escape. That's it. This isn't a question, it's an answer. What is?
ベアト、復唱要求の前にお前の言う隠し扉の定義を確認したい。
And here I was thinking that he was gonna say, well, I can always just ignore Beatrice's writ truth and assume everything she's saying is not even true. That would definitely make theories a lot more easier to form.
何を思いついたやら。よかろう。隠し扉とは知らぬ人間が認識できぬ出入り口のことであろうが、そんなこと子供でも知っておろう。
つまり部屋の外に出られなかったらそれは隠し扉じゃないってことだよな。
What does he mean?
ほう、そうきたか。
俺は犯人は密室から抜け出したものだとばかり思っていた。違うんだ。
What?
犯人だって密室から脱出できなかったんだ。
So what is he saying?
だから隠れてやり過ごそうとした。
I had used this theory for the second locked room and reasoned that Kanon-kun might have done this. But I had given up that reasoning when I was told Kanon-kun was killed in red. And next, I had reasoned that if there had been a third person in the room, it would have been possible for them to escape through a hidden door. And that was when, for the first time, the claim had been made in red that no hidden door exists. And what I learned just now, these hidden doors the witch was talking about referred to things that made it possible to get into or out of. In other words, things didn't permit entry or exit to the outside, and also wouldn't be noticed by people who didn't know about them, wouldn't fall under the definition of hidden door. Okay, still, in other words, if there were, for example, something like a hidden shelf or a secret closet, oh, they wouldn't be defined as hidden doors. In other words, the third person in Jessica's room was hiding here, waiting for us to pass by. How pathetic. Just a little playing around with words. With this method, it looks like I can even manage the third locked room, the servant room. If there's a hidden shelf under the bed or anything like that, that would be enough. The culprit's hiding somewhere, waiting for us to leave. The culprit is also trapped in a locked room, even now. Which means at this very moment, the culprit is still hiding in the servant room, holding their breath, and also keeping the dead body somewhere? And that means, what the hell? Even though we've been tortured with locked rooms 3 times, in this very moment, we've actually gotten the culprit in checkmate.
ようやく見えてきたぜ。くらえベアト！副将要求！この部屋には俺たち以外の誰もいない。俺たちってのは、俺、ジョージの兄貴、マリア、ローザおばさん、ゲンジさん、ゴーダさん、シャノンちゃんのことだぜ。どうだ？言えねえだろ。痛えとこ疲れただろ。拒否なら拒否と言いやがれ。次行くぜ。気象要求。
I don't know how they're hiding in this room. But if that's a fact, then this also resolves the second locked room, Jessica's room, at the same time. I finally caught her by the tail. With this, I can explain everything. Witches don't exist. I don't have to doubt anyone. Alright, starting now, I'll flip it over. The next thing I'll request she repeat is... Oh no, not looking good.
この部屋にはお前たち以外は存在しない。お前たちの定義とは、バトラー、ジョージ、マリア、ローザ、ゲンジ、ゴーダ、シャノンのことを指す。
Poor Battler.
ジェシカの部屋に話を戻す。ジェシカの死体発見時、ジェシカの部屋にいたのは、バトラー、ジョージ、マリア、ローザ、ゲンジ、ゴーダ、シャノン、熊沢、南條のみだった。おっと、死体のジェシカももちろん含む。よって、ジェシカの部屋の件、そしてこの使用人室の件の両方について、そなたが認識していた以外の人間は存在しない。
No humans, but maybe witches. Or animals.
誰も隠れていない。さらに言おう。扉は鍵を使用せずに外から施錠する方法は存在しない。窓については外からはいかなる方法でも施錠する方法は存在しない。ついでに言おう。そなたは無能だ。
That's... I feel bad for Battler, but... That's hilarious. It's worse of Battler because, like Beatrice said, he imposed on himself all these extra sets of victory conditions when he didn't necessarily have to. Now he wants to explain it in a way that witches cannot do it, and in a way that humans can, but also he wants to avoid pinning the blame on the people he trusts, and he's hellbent on pinning it on the 19th person. So that makes it extra difficult for him.
それじゃあ本当に3つじゃねえかよ。せっかく思いついたのに。お前が隠れていたんなら全て説明がついたのに、トリックを打ち破れたと思ったってのに。
Man, I really feel bad for Battler. It's no good, no good, no good, no goddamn good. For a second, I thought I had it. It was no goddamn good at all. Beatrice, you bitch. I thought you were all smoke and mirrors, playing word games that made clever use of red. I was certain you just cleverly deceived me. Just when I thought I seen a light in the darkness, it disappeared. It just disappeared, swallowed up by a blood-red sea. Red. Red, red, red. No one is hiding. And there's no hidden door, and no way to trick the doors or the windows while they're locked. Have you just proven that it's all impossible? Has the devil's proof been pulled off with a frontal attack? Impossible. This is impossible.
どうしたのだ後ろ宮バトラー。魔女を否定する気で満々だったじゃない。そんなところで這いつくばって悔し涙を絞り出してどうしたんだい。ああ、それはとっても素敵な方法。わらわを笑い転げさせて笑い涙の海で溺れ殺してやろうというのは確かに素敵。実はそうなんだろう。わらわを笑って笑って笑い殺してやろうって手なんだろう。後ろ宮バトラー。
Oh my.
何か魔法だ。魔女なんて絶対に否定してやる。
I think it's still possible to deny that witches exist through what I proposed before, being that the keys were outside the room and Rosa brought the envelope into the room afterwards to make it seem like the keys were always in there. But if the culprit is Rosa, then she would have an accomplice inside the servant's room. This theory is not perfect at all, but it's what I'm gonna roll with.
お前なんて絶対に信じない。魔法の力でみんなを面白半分にいじめ殺してるなんて絶対に認めね
え。なあバトラー、いじめすぎて悪かった。わらわ側からチェス盤をひっくり返してやるぞ。お前に代わってお前側の最善手を教えてやるよ。聞きたい？
ふざけんな。聞きたくねえ聞きたくね
え。ジェシカの部屋の件、そなたは実に良いところをついていたのだぞ。隠れてやり過ごそうとした。これは実にいい着眼だった。だがなぜそれをカノンと19人目のわらわにしか考えなかった？そうか、隠れてやり過ごすの隠れてが邪魔だったから考えが至らなかったか。ほーら、もうわかるだろう。ジェシカだよ。
Oh.
ジェシカ。
If Jessica were the culprit, a farce like this could be easily constructed. She killed Kanon-kun and carried him off somewhere. Then she played dead and let us walk by. But that's ridiculous. Dr. Nanjo had definitely checked that she was dead. So is Dr. Nanjo an accomplice too? The doctors are always accomplices. That's wrong. I had also made sure that Jessica was really dead. Sure, I'd never performed an examination on a corpse before, but she was definitely dead. I think she was dead. No, she probably, surely, definitely, at least I think so, but she has to be... No, she was dead. She was dead.
ジェシカもグルなのよ。そして検視をした南條もグル。ならば第三の密室など茶番だろうが。
Yeah, then it's simple. Dr. Nanjo was an accomplice, so in other words, he was on the culprit's side, so in other words, he was never killed in the first place? That's the other theory. We thought he had been killed and the body had disappeared, but he wasn't in the servant room in the first place? Then is Kumasawa Bachan, who disappeared with him, also an accomplice? That's not all. That's not all. The servants who are going along with that story, Genji-san and Gohda-san and even Shannon-chan, are accomplices. Then the one who stole the key from Maria's handbag was Jessica. No, it's also possible it was George Aniki. After all, if Shannon-chan was on the culprit's side, then George Aniki would automatically be on the culprit's side as well. Wait a second, just wait a second. They're all wolves? They're all wolves! Not only am I drowning in an ocean of bright red blood, there are packs of wolves clamoring on the banks, whose blazing eyes tell me that if I crawl out, they'll eat me. Which way should I die? Will I have everything denied and drown in a bright red sea? Will I know the truth and have my body chewed to bits by the wolves? It's either one hell or the other. I can't choose. Oh my goodness.
だからこそわらわがいる。さあ後ろ宮バトラー、ひざまずけ。そして永遠の忠誠を誓ってわらわの靴を舐めるがいい。
I wonder why she used red though. It's nothing that is the truth. It's not a fact. It's a command.
わらわを認めれば全ての謎に決着がつく。わらわの力をもってすればどのような密室も生み出せ、そして打ち破れる。バトラー、力ある者に屈服する喜びに身を委ねたくはない。そなたはわらわの一番のお気に入りの家具にしてやるよ。
Furniture? So, people who accept her become furniture?
そなたを愛して愛して灰になるまでわらわの玩具にしてやるよ。
To ashes. Oh my.
これではっきりしたわ。もう疑いようもない。
は？と言いますと？
あなたたちが死んだという二人はここにいない。そしてベアトリーチェからの手紙があり、親切にも死体は持ち去ったと告白してくれている。そういうことよ。もう茶番は飽きしたわ。
What is it? I'm assuming she's gonna assume that the servants were all in on it. As Auntie Rosa yelled, she looked over at everyone with a harsh expression.
茶番ってどういう意味ですか？
私はジェシカちゃんの部屋で言ったわ。信用できるのは自分自身の死体となって見つかった者以外いないってね。
You still can't trust the corpses though.
そして死体が見つからない以上、あの二人が殺されたことを認めるわけにはいかない。
待ってください、ローザおばさん。それはどういう意味ですか？
南條先生と熊沢さんは死んでないわ。生きている。殺されたということにしてこの屋敷のどこかに隠れてるのよ。私たちを襲うためにね。
I would say this line of reasoning is not wrong from Rosa's side. If you don't have the whole story, that's what you would think too.
なんでそんなことがわかるんですか？ゴーダさんたちが嘘をついていると言うんですか？
ローザ様、このゴーダ、いえ、後ろ宮家使用人一同、誓ってそのようなことはいたしません。
あなたたちは南條先生たちは殺されたという。でも死体がない以上それを信じるわけにはいかないわ。あなたたちが口裏を合わせてそういう嘘をついている可能性があるもの。あなたたちの無実を信じる方法はちゃんとあるわよ。 南條先生と熊沢さんの遺体が見つかることよ。それが見つかったら私はあなたたちの話を聞いてみようという話にもなるわ。でも見つからない限りあなたたちは狼であることを否定できない。あんたも黄金に目がくらんであの魔女に買収されたんでしょ。そんなに金が欲しい？そうなんでしょ。一生遊んで暮らしたいの？そんな人生に何の価値があるのよ。
ローザ様、私たちはそんな。
黙りなさい。そしてシャノン、それ以上近づかないで。10年も恩を受けながらそれをあだで返すなんて容赦なく引き金を引くわよ。
そんなのってひどすぎます。
ローザおばさん、それは暴言だ。この部屋で殺人が起こった。そして犯人が死体を持ち去った。彼女たちはそれを正直に申告しているだけだ。
Shannon had finally broken down in tears. She had sacrificed 10 years to the Ushinomiya family. She had sacrificed 10 of the most brilliant years of her life. And she had believed that she had built up a friendly relationship with Rosa as well. And this was how she was treated. You could kill a person without using a knife. It wasn't just George Aniki. Even I could recognize that Shannon-chan had been stabbed deep into her heart as blood by the name of tears flowed out.
シャノンさん、下がって。ローザ様、確かにこのゴーダはお勤めして日も浅く、信用を勝ち得ていないのはわかります。しかし、せめてシャノンさんだけでも信じていただくわけには参りませんか。彼女は10年間も後ろ宮家に奉仕を捧げて参りました。
Yes, everyone, I have fully redeemed Gohda. Is that how I should say it? I think Gohda is a good person now. He really is showing, I guess, his true side without the pressure of always performing as the best cook, I guess. This is good of him.
このゴーダを信じろとは申しません。せめてシャノンさんだけでも信じてやっていただくわけには参りませんか。
But I don't understand anymore. I don't understand. We can't seek an answer without suspecting them. That's it. Bit by bit, I'm starting to understand. It's because we seek an answer. That's why everything keeps getting stranger. We don't need an answer. What? These are all strange murders committed with bizarre magic by the 19th person, the witch Beatrice, as she follows a creepy ritual. So Battler is giving up? Isn't that good enough? I don't want to suspect anyone anymore. Shannon-chan and Gohda-san were protesting their innocence, half in tears. Genji-san quietly stopped that.
よしなさい。ローザ様の言うことはもっともだ。死体を見つけない限り、南條先生と熊沢の無実は。
That's right. By Rosa's argument, if the corpses could be found, then the innocence of at least those people could be proved. Still, I don't think so. But only the people who were corpses. Okay, that makes sense. Even if they searched around the mansion and found the corpses, in the end, their own innocence would not be proved. They had adopted Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san, killed them in another place, and locked the room with their own master keys. Unless the locked room could be broken by a method other than that one, it would be impossible to prove their innocence. But that couldn't be done. They only have one chance to prove their innocence. That can only happen when they meet with the culprit, become corpses, and are reunited with Auntie Rosa. That's messed up. Innocent if they die, guilty as long as they live, almost like a witch's trial. Oh right, the enemy's a witch. So that makes it okay?
ローザ様、私たちは後ろ宮家にお仕えする家具です。私どもを信用されるもされないもまた、たとえどのようなご評価をいただこうとも、最後の時までお務めを続けるのみでございます。
あなたは本当に使用人の鏡ね。お父様が心を許すのもよくわかるわ。そんなあなたまで疑わなくてはならないなんて、本当に心苦しいわ。
Genji's son stuck his hand into his pocket and pulled out a master key. Then he set it on an adjacent table. This is just reminding me of the same thing that Genji did, which was to take out his own key and give it to Natsuhi, I think, in the previous round.
私は信頼の証としてこれを預かっていると信じています。それを失ったなら、これをお返しするのは当然かと思います。
Oh wait, I remember now. In the last round, Genji also handed, I think, the key to Kinzo's study, as well as his own key to Natsuhi. After Eva and Hideyoshi died. But that's the second... No, after Kanon died? Okay, things are a bit hazy right now. But the timeline kind of adds up, I guess, for this action in both of the cases.
それはいい判断ね。今日、何度もあなたたちが疑われてきた最大の根拠は、このマスターキー。それを手放せば、疑いが晴らせるのではないかというのは、初歩的ではあるけれど、まあ悪いことじゃないと思うわ。
二人とも。
Genji-san looked at Gohda-san and Shannon-chan. The two of them nodded and set their own master keys onto the... Auntie Rosa laid the two master keys that had come out of the envelope on top. With that, all 5 master keys were gathered in this place. In other words, this was proof that all of the servants' service until today had been negated, and even the final honor that they should have been permitted had been stripped from them.
マリア、その手提げを貸しなさい。
Auntie Rosa snatched Maria's handbag, tossed all the master keys in there noisily, then lifted one out and held it up for all to see. She was announcing that she had all of the master keys.
これで満足かい、ローザおばさん。
If she wanted to keep the master keys securely, she wouldn't put it with Maria. She should keep it on her person, I feel.
これでマスターキーはローザおばさんが持つものだけだ。これで満足なんだろう。
ええ、満足よ。たとえ全員が信用できなくても、私は私自身だけを信用することができる。その私が銃とマスターキーを独占できた。これで私はもう誰も疑わずに済むの。あなたたちも嬉しいでしょ？これでもう疑われずに済む。
There was Beatrice's laugh when Rosa was laughing, and I think I said it in the last video in the comment, but what if Rosa is not even Rosa? What if she's actually Beatrice, or like Beatrice's puppet? That would make a lot of sense, to be honest, because Rosa's just acting kind of weird. Or is this really Rosa's true personality? We shall see. Oh, Maria? Then Maria, who had looked like a spectator off by herself, sneered at her mother. Auntie Rosa reacted nervously to that laugh and turned around.
鍵なんか関係ないよ。ベアトリーチェは魔法で扉を開けられる。鍵なんていらない。そんなもの、誰が持っていたって持っていなくたって関係ないんだよ。
その笑い方をやめなさいっていつも言ってるでしょ。
Battler?
なーに、バトラ君。
I had just cut between the two of them. No, that's not it. I was on my knees and hugging Maria's head. Why? I was crying.
もうよしてくれよ、ローザおばさん。マリアが正しかったんだ。
何を言っているの？
Is he giving up?
マリア、疑って悪かった。信じなくて悪かった。
バトラー。
全部魔女の仕業だったんだ。魔女の仕業だったんだよ。トリックとかミスとかどうでもよかったんだ。ただベアトリーチェっていう魔女が実在して本当に魔女だっただけなんだ。それも俺は信じなかったからこんなにも苦しくて悲しくて。
バトラはベアトリーチェを信じてくれる？
She sounds so hopeful.
ああ、信じる。ベアトリーチェはいるんだ。そして不思議な魔法を使う魔女なんだ。
バトラー。
Maria let go of my hand, and then she was the one holding my head.
それでいいんだよ、バトラー。ベアトリーチェはいたの。
Existed.
バトラがなかなかそれを信じられなかったから見えなかったの。魔女はいるの。
Beatrice existed, but the witch exists?
いる。
That's confusing.
もうすぐ来る。バトラはベアトを信じてくれたからきっと黄金鏡へ招かれるよ。もうすぐだから。もう何も怖くない。怖くないよ。マリアと一緒にお手手をつないで一緒に非分の謎を考えよう。ベアトの問題を考えよう。ベアトは最初から言ってるよ。この問題を解いて遊ぼうとしか言ってないよ。
ああ、そうだったんだ。犯人探しなんて全くの時間の無駄だったんだ。俺たちはただ魔女を信じればよかったんだ。
After softly brushing my cheeks as my tears kept dribbling down, Maria kissed my forehead as soft as a feather. For just that instant, Maria's smile, which I had once thought was creepy, looked like an angel.
マスターキーはお返ししましたが、私どもの後ろ宮家への忠誠は変わりません。
I just want to say, even if Battler gives up, I'm gonna stubbornly fight till the end.
100前は以後、お許しがない限り立ち入りません。どうかローザ様も、100間を内側より施錠なさってください。
This is exactly the same problem that happened when he locked himself in Kinzo's study. I think everyone's also forgetting that Kinzo still exists and he can freely walk around places. But, well, he might need the key, I guess.
本当に殊勝な人ね。台風が過ぎ去ってこの島に再び海猫の鳴き声が戻ってきたなら、私たちは再び互いを信頼し合えるのかしら。
もし 再びの信頼を賜えるのでしたら、これに勝る喜びはありません。
そうね。私たちは必ず分かり合えるわ。海猫の鳴く頃に。
この部屋は警察が来るまでこのままにした方が良いでしょう。ローザ様、施錠をお願いいたします。私たちは厨房へ戻ります。何かございましたらいつでもご用命ください。
ありがとう。あなたが狼だったなら、なんてシャーシャーとのたまうのか。そしてあなたが羊だったなら、あなたを狼の檻に放り出して。
家具は家に運命を委ねます。命を落とすことになろうとも。それによってローザ様の信頼を再び勝ち取れるならば、それはとても光栄なことです。
できることならば、あなたたちが台風が過ぎ去るまで元気でいることを願っています。これはすべて台風が奏でる暴風と降雨の競争曲。演奏が終われば幕が下り、私たちは再び手を取り合えるに違いない。
I can't help but feel like this is so performative. If you're gonna throw them out, don't put on a show like this, Rosa.
海猫の鳴く頃に。
Auntie Rosa nodded in response. Genji-san turned on his heels. He left the servant room. Gohda-san's face was still streaked with tears, but as he had listened to Genji-san's words, maybe he had managed to sort out his heart. His face had been truly shameful, but it had returned to the face of the Gohda-san we knew well.
私も厨房に控えております。何かございましたらいつでもご用命ください。
I'm surprised. Well, I guess I'm not surprised anymore. He took this really well, and I guess his true character came out when he defended Shannon. So Gohda's a good guy after all.
温かい食事をお望みでしたらいつでもこのゴーダ最高のお料理を用意させていただきます。
I know he means well, but I think Rosa's not gonna like that.
ありがとう。あなたには明日の朝食を頼みたいわ。明日の昼前には船も来るでしょう。
Breakfast tomorrow? Rosa, are you saying that there will be no more murders tomorrow morning?
今までありがとう。
If you really can't trust them, then you wouldn't even ask for breakfast. Nothing until the boat comes.
六軒島で唯一の楽しみがあなたの食事だったわ。
かしこまりました。このゴーダ最高の朝食を用意いたします。どうか明日の朝を楽しみにしてください。
ありがとう。シャノンちゃんも明日の朝に美味しいコーヒーを飲みながら仲直りをしましょう。ジョージ君。
僕も彼らと一緒に行く。
I wonder, will she let him go? If she does, then that means that she can't trust George either. But if she wants to keep him, then it feels like she's plotting something.
いいんです、庄司様。どうか客間にお戻りになってください。もうマスターキーは他にありません。だからローザ様とご一緒に客間にいれば誰にも脅かされません。
That is so wrong. That's assuming that Rosa is not the killer. And she has a gun.
そうね。そういうことになってる。客間に私と一緒にいるのが客観的に考えて一番安全だと思うわ。
I don't get it. Well, no, I get it, but I wish I didn't.
でも無理に一緒にいろとは言わない。
Oh?
ジョージ君はジョージ君の安全だと思う場所にいればいい。ジョージ君ももう大人だものね。明日の朝までどこで誰と過ごそうと自由だもの。
そうさ。僕は僕の判断で 誰と夜を過ごすか決める。
And he's probably gonna die.
兄貴。
バトラ君はローザおばさんと客間にいるんだ。きっとそれが一番安全なんだ。
I still disagree, but whatever.
客間の外はそれに比べたら安全ではないと思う。ならそんな場所にいる彼女を僕は一人にしておけない。
俺は決してシャノンちゃんや他の使用人を、いや誰かを疑ってるわけじゃないんだ。誰も疑いたくないんだ。いいさ、黄金、そんなのくだらねえじゃねえかよ。そんなので殺し合いなんてあるわけねえじゃねえかよ。
バトラ君の心が美しいことは僕が一番知っている。誰も君を責めない。誰も。
兄貴。
大丈夫。バトラはマリアが守る。マリアと一緒ならベアトリーチェでも手出しできない。だってマリアはちっちゃくても魔女だもの。
So well, let's assume Maria is a witch. Then does it mean she's on par with Beatrice's powers?
マリアちゃん、バトラー君をよろしく。さあ、シャノン、行こう。
はい。ローザ様、それでは失礼させていただきます。ご用命がございましたらいつでもお呼びつけください。
さっきはひどいことを言ってごめんなさいね。
I'm just wondering, but how will Rosa call them? Because the phones aren't working. Is she going to walk all the way out to call them?
明日の朝まで許さなくてもいい。でも明日の朝になったらもう一度謝らせて。
はい、ありがとうございます。
George, Aniki, and Shannon-chan left the servant room together. Now only Maria, Auntie Rosa, and I were left in this disgusting, blood-stained room. Until Genji-san disappeared, until Gohda-san disappeared, until George, Aniki, and Shannon-chan disappeared, we stood there in a daze. After their presence and their footsteps had disappeared completely, Auntie Rosa giggled at them, as though she had just remembered something pleasant. I don't like this.
何も信用できないわよ、家具どもが。
That one sentence made me choke.
なんでそんなことを言うんだよ。
Seems like a new
マスターキーは5つで全部。
new track. There are 5 master keys?
そんなの誰が信じるの。どうせ複製の鍵があるに決まってるのよ。彼らが懐から鍵を出したくらいで信用なんかできるものか。
そりゃあねえぜ。その鍵を置いたってのはよ、単に鍵を手放したってだけじゃねえ。あんた彼らの今日までの苦労、その挙句としてその鍵を手放させたんだぜ。その捨て台詞はなんだよ。ここまでして見せてなおまだ信用できないってのかよ。
I was gonna say, I thought this is a new track, but it sounds like the credits of the first round.
マリだぜ、マリだぜ、そんなのって。
悪魔の証明なのにマスターキーは全部で5つ。そんなこと証明不能なのよ。マスターキーが5つあることはここに置けば示せる。でも5つ以上存在しないことは証明できない。
I would agree with Rosa here, but it's so heartless of her to say it out loud like this in front of Battler.
そんなことは悪魔か魔女にしか証明できないのよ。
もうやめてくれ、もうやめて、頼むよベアトリーチェ、今すぐ現れてくれ。そしてローザおばさんに赤でマスターキーは5本しかないって言ってやってくれ。 頼むよ、五条だよ。悪魔にしか証明できないんだよ。魔女のお前なら証明できるんだよ。頼むからベアト、ここに現れてローザおばさんに、マスターキーはそれで全部だから、もうみんなを疑わなくていいんだって。
マスターキーは5本しかない。マスターキーは5本しかない。これはどうしたことか。わらわがいくら口にしてもローザに届かぬ。どうやらわらわの存在を否定している奴がまだいるから聞こえないみたいだな。後ろ宮バートラー。
認めるよ。お前はいる確かにいる。
Oh my.
だから五条だよ。もうやめて。
言葉だけでは届かぬぞ。態度で示せ。わらわの家具になると心から誓え。できるか？
Don't do it, Battler.
服を脱げ。裸になるんだよ。そして両手をついて地に這え。着衣は霊長にのみ認められた証だ。貴様は今から家具になるんだよ。だからその資格を失う当然のこと。そしてひざまずけよ。わらわの靴に舌を這わせろ。できるか？できるんだよな。そうしたら現れてやるよ。赤で言ってやる。マスターキーは5本しかないってローザに言ってやるよ。ああ、でも分かってる。誇り高きお前がプライドを捨てられるわけがない。それでもいいんだよ。十分なんだよ。ちょっとグラーってきただろ。靴を舐めてもいいかって一瞬思っただろう。すぐにそれを否定して自分を恥じただろう。その表情が見れるだけで最高に素敵な気分なんだよ。ざまあねえ顔だよ。鏡で見てみろよ。裸になって靴を舐めてる最低なお前が映ってるぜ。見えるかよ、後ろ宮バトラー。
Oh my goodness. We're coming to the end. I can feel it. This is probably the last chapter. Maybe.
信じられない。それが真相だというのかい？
はい。私たちは見たままのことをお話ししています。
George folded his arms and started humming again. And the kitchen was once again absorbed by a long silence.
ジョージ様がにわかには信じられない気持ちも私はよくわかります。何しろこの目で確かに見たはずの私ですらあれが何だったのかわからなくなる。私は確かに見た。そして取っ組み合いまでしたはずなんです。なのにあれが全部幻だったような気すらする。
なるほどね。あのローザおばさんに詳しく話せないわけだ。今の話を本当にしてたらもっと面倒なトラブルになっていただろうね。なるほど。源氏さんが随分冷静な対応をしていたのが分かりました。
私にそれを説明するだけの力があればよかったのですが。
George had not actually seen it, so even when pressed to believe, he just couldn't imagine it. It was only natural, because even the people who had actually seen it had ended up questioning themselves as to what it was.
話を少し巻き戻すよ。シャノンは カノン君が偽物かもしれないと思った時、クモの巣を取ってきたと言ったね。どうしてそんなことを？
そうだ。それは私も思っていました。
It's because Beatrice is a butterfly.
どうしてクモの巣だったんです？
前に熊沢さんに聞いたことがあるんです。大昔の六軒島には悪霊が住んでいて、そのクモの巣を恐れたって。
Oh, okay.
それでクモの巣を魔除けと尊んで大切にしたという昔話があるんだそうです。それでその土佐に。
But you know what? I'm most curious about how or what tipped Shannon off about it in the first place.
私も少し混乱していたんだと思います。
そんな話が。熊沢はそういう昔話に詳しかったな。
クモは液中ですからね。確かにそういう信仰があってもおかしくないかもしれない。
きっとその悪霊の力をあの鳥居の祠が封じ込めてたんだと思います。
The shrine that she destroyed or broke the mirror from, is it?
そして霊境が割られたのでその力が蘇ってベアトリーチェ様を蘇らせる力となってしまったに違いないのです。
So we arrived at the same conclusion.
私が心の弱かった私があんな大それたことをしなければ。
シャノン、その話はもうしなくても大丈夫だよ。僕は君を責めたりなんかしない。
So he knows about it? Since long ago, Shannon had often hinted at a certain occult aspect regarding how she had met George. Right, okay, I remember that from the very first, the beginning of episode 2. While he did lend an ear to her tales, George had always thought that this was a typical of a girl associating love with fate, chance, and miracles. George had thought that breaking the spirit mirror offered to the Torii shrine was going a little too far, but he had forgiven her, laughing it off as just a little prank she had done because she had seriously desired a relationship with him, so he doesn't actually believe her. Just breaking a mirror in some musty shrine wouldn't change the fate of our meeting. Are you sure about that, George? And that would never cause any curse. I remember cheering her up, saying it was only a musty mirror covered in dust.
ベアトリーチェ様という霊のような存在がいるという話はこの島に勤めるようになってからたくさんの同僚に聞かされました。最初はバカバカしいと思っていましたが、それを批判するとなんだか不謹慎そうな空気があったもので、私も表向きは信じているように振る舞っていきました。しかしまさか本当に
いたんです。
They keep saying that she existed.
ベアトリーチェ様はずっとこのお屋敷におられたんです。でもベアトリーチェ様は力を失っておられて、私たちの前に姿を現すことができなかったんです。ずっといた。私たちが見えなかっただけなんです。
源氏さんの意見を聞きたいです。
私には何も意見はありません。
He's gonna play like this until the very end, huh?
一つだけ申し上げたいのは、私たちはあの時ここに5人いた。そしてカノンが勝手口から帰ってきたと思った。そして使用人室に運び、何かが起こって南條先生と熊沢が帰らぬ人となってしまった。それだけです。私たちは見たものをすでに全て説明しました。それを見ていないジョージ様に信じろというのはとても無理な話だと理解しています。
信じられるわけがない。あれは間違いなく カノンさんだと思った。でもあいつがベッドから起き上がって、そうこんな風にしながら胸の傷をまさぐり始めた時、こいつはカノンさんじゃない、誰か別の存在なんだと直感しました。ジョージ様にはわからないでしょう。よく知っていると思っていた人物が実は別人であることをさらけ出した瞬間の恐ろしさというものは説明できない。とても説明できるわけがない。
わかるよ。ゴーダさんがそれほどまでにショックを受けるどんな恐ろしいことがあったのか。
ありがとうございます、ジョージ様。
And they all went silent again. No matter how many times she was consoled, Shannon kept on crying, weeping that listening to the witch's sweet whispers and breaking the spirit mirror on that day had been where this had all gone wrong.
君に囁いたという魔女は、その鏡があると力を失うんだね。
少し説明してくれた気がしますが、よく覚えていません。
I wonder if George is listening to all of this and still doesn't believe that the witch Shannon is talking about is real. Even till now, I feel like he denies Beatrice.
あの鏡があると力が出せないという。
君が割ったというその鏡はどうしたの？
覚えていません。多分割ったまま立ち去りましたから、そのままそこに残ってたでしょう。
Oh wait, I thought she threw it into the sea.
ということは、岩礁が雷で撃たれて消えたとかいうときに海の底か。まあ拾って接着剤で貼り付けたところでご利益は戻らないだろうけどね。
I just can't help but feel like George is a little insensitive right now. Okay, well that laugh totally sealed the deal.
私は本当に
ごめん、失言したよ。
He didn't know whether Shannon breaking the mirror had really been what had started everything off. The servants didn't go so far as to blame Shannon, but it seemed that they believed that it had been the trigger. But even now, there was no way George could believe that much. Even if he was told a story about witches and evil spirits, it just sounded fake to him. Even so, he listened seriously to Shannon's story, trying to find a hint that might relieve at least a little of the pain in her heart.
そういえば、その鳥居にあったものとは違うでしょうが、奥様がお守りとして霊鏡をお持ちになっていると聞いたことがあります。
へえ、夏日おばさんが？
はい、おじい様の形見分けか何かでもらったものだそうで、とても強い魔除けの力を持つ由緒正しい霊鏡だとかなんとか。
Wait, did she talk about this before? I feel like Natsuhi mentioned having a charm or something that she wanted to give Jessica as well, right? In episode 1. Actually, that kind of slipped my mind a little, but thanks to Gohda now, I recall something about it. But maybe that's why Natsuhi was spared. If Beatrice is real.
同じ話は私も聞いたことがある。鏡は良くないものを反射して弾き返す力があるのだとか。
その霊鏡があれば魔女のベアトリーチェに対抗できるかな。
When George proposed this, the servants looked up.
祀っていた鳥居と祠はもうないかもしれないけれど、霊鏡がもう一枚あるのは重要なことだよ。夏日おばさんの実家は神職にも通じていると聞いたことがある。
Now that is interesting. How did Natsuhi end up with Kraus?
それは本当に単なる鏡ではないかもしれない。
確か奥様は宝物箱に入れて大事にしまっていると、そんなに大きいものではないのかもしれません。
大きさの問題ではなかったと思います。私が割った鏡も一見大したことのない
相手がオカルトならこちらもオカルトの手段で対抗するしかない。
Oh, they believe in it then.
ただこうして座っていても何も解決しない単なる気休めだとしてもやってみる価値はあるよ。
Of course, this didn't mean that George had accepted the witch. However, he thought it would be necessary to have some kind of purification ceremony to heal the wounds in Shannon's heart. So this story about Natsuhi's spirit mirror was just what the doctor ordered.
行こう。魔女をやっつけようなんて大それたことは言わないよ。でも魔女から身を守る魔除けがあってもいいと思う。前にマリアちゃんに聞いたんだけど、おじい様の部屋の扉は強力な魔除けが施されているんでしょ。さすがおじい様だね。オカルトに対する防御も十分だったわけだ。行こう。夏日おばさんの部屋へ。
しかし奥様の部屋には鍵がかかっていると思います。
I was gonna say this, but if her room is locked, then how is anyone gonna get in? Because the master key is now with Rosa.
マスターキーはローザ様にお返ししてしまいましたし、キーボックスのある使用人室も施錠されてしまいましたし。
ならばその鍵は夏日おばさんが持ち歩いているはず。
Oh my, are they gonna suggest going to the chapel and searching through Natsuhi's body?
礼拝堂にはまだ夏日おばさんの遺体があるはずだ。
Man, I mean, I guess desperate times calls for desperate measures, but this is a bit... I don't know.
警察が来る前に勝手にいじってしまうのは悪いことだけれど、それについてはちゃんと説明しよ
う。しかし礼拝堂の入り口も鍵がかけられております。
ゴーダさんの腕力じゃガラス1枚割れないのかい？その辺の石で叩き割ればいい。
大切な礼拝堂の窓を破ってしまっても、
おじい様に怒られるときは僕が責任を持つよ。
I'm afraid George may not be around to take responsibility, or actually anyone in this mansion will be around.
僕はもともと今日後ろ宮家の全員と戦うつもりでいた。君との婚約を許してもらうためにね。だから元よりその覚悟はある。ガラスを割ろう。そして夏日おばさんの遺体から鍵を借りよう。
It seemed that George's claim that he would take responsibility had given the servants a great amount of courage. Shannon and Gohda glanced at each other and then looked at George's face again.
オカルトに詳しいおじい様だもの。夏日おばさんの霊境の力だってきっと理解してくれる。大丈夫。怒られたりなんかしない。
Do first and ask later.
奥様の鏡で本当にベアトリーチェ様をもう一度封じることができるでしょうか。
わからない。でも試す価値はあると思う。なら行こう。表はどんどん暗くなっちゃうよ。急ごう。シャノンは懐中電灯を、ゴーダさんはガラスを割れそうな道具を、ゲンジさんはすみません、傘の用意をお願いします。
はい。
The servants who had been rejected by Rosa started to move once again, having gained a new master. George, who was normally calm and gentle, was now exuding a commanding presence. Shannon checked the emergency flashlight, just in case she changed the batteries. Gohda was examining several heavy-looking cooking tools. Normally, a self-respecting chef like himself wouldn't want to use them for anything other than their intended purposes. But now he was frantic to fulfill the orders of the one he accepted as his master. After some deliberation, he took a large, weighty frying pan. Genji removed several umbrellas from the umbrella stand set in the corner near the back of the kitchen. He took 3 of them.
ゲンジさん？
私はご一緒できません。
Why?
ご用命の時に全員がいないようなことがあっては後ろ宮家使用人頭として恥ずかしいことです。
No, but that's suspicious on its own too.
そんな源氏さん、今のこの屋敷で一人でいることがどれだけ危険かあなたもわかるでしょう。
One could say that he's not afraid because he is the culprit, but perhaps he has other reasons aside from being embarrassing if no one is here to fulfill the orders.
私はいけぬ。親方様からいつお呼び出しがあってもいいように。
源氏様。
Then it would be better for him to go find Kinso?
行ってジョージ様にお仕えするように。くれぐれも粗相のないように。ゴーダ、手本となるようよろしく頼む。
はい、お任せください。
必ずやお役目を果たします。
本当にいいんですね、源氏さん。
はい、私はもうこの年です。今日までの人生は全て親方様に受けたご恩をお返しするための日々でした。
Man, I'm still really curious about Genji's backstory and how it ties to Kinso.
このような老いぼれがどうなろうと全てはルーレットの西だ。私はどのような結果が出るのかをここに座って見届けたいと思います。
It's the roulette again. As Genji said that, he sat down. As though saying that he didn't intend to discuss this anymore, his gaze fell to the chessboard that he had played on with Nanjo. When George saw this, he decided to leave Genji there.
行こう、みんな。今は少し風もおとなしいみたいだ。
George took an umbrella and dashed out into the hallway, and Shannon and Gohda chased after him, each holding a tool. After they flew out of the room, Genji quietly extended his hand to the side of the chessboard. He softly pulled something that was there towards himself and hid it by covering it with his palm. Knife or something? Is someone there? Genji killed his breathing even more than before. As he did, something flashed gold. Holy shit! It's Beatrice! From inside an ice pail set on a counter, a small gold butterfly appeared, softly and silently. It was almost as though it had watched George and the rest leave and was trying to secretly follow them. I wonder if this butterfly is where Beatrice and Battler is watching from. It happened in an instant. The gold butterfly, elegantly flapping its wings, was pinned against the wall by the knife Genji had thrown, just like a butterfly in a bug collection. After the gold butterfly beat its wings several times, looking like it was in pain, it accepted the fact that it couldn't break free, became fine gold powder and smoke, and disappeared as though dissolving into water. Genji's gaze was still lowered at the chessboard, as though nothing had happened. It means that he had dealt with this like plenty of times before? Maybe he would think up a brilliant move very soon. But no matter what move he made, his opponent would not be able to respond for all eternity. Maybe Genji isn't a culprit. Oh, I don't know. I just feel sorry for Genji that he lost his chess partner, Nanjo. And I mean, he clearly saved Shannon, but you know, who knows, maybe he saved Shannon for a reason. Even though he knew that Genji searched for a brilliant move. It must have been the perfect way to kill time during the short period before some fate would be given to him. He didn't know what result the roulette would bring about, but that decision would be made very soon. No one could interfere with the tumbling roulette ball. The door to the parlor was not only locked, but blocked with a barricade made of sofas and the like. So Auntie Rosa seemed to suspect that if a suspicious person appeared, it would be by breaking the window. Sitting on a one-person sofa, her back to the door, she continued to hold onto her gun. I just can't help but remember that this parlor is the very same one that had a lot of people died in the last episode. Anyway, I didn't know what was what anymore, and so my body and my mind worn out, I was just playing with Maria however she wanted. In Maria's words, Beatrice was testing us to see whether we could solve the epitaph of the gold, so we had to challenge this. In the beginning, I had been a little interested and had tried to solve it, but I didn't have a clue what those weird paragraphs even meant in the first place. I didn't doubt that there was some riddle hidden there, but I couldn't imagine that I would solve it by chance. In the middle part of the epitaph, there were lines saying to journey to the Golden Land over the course of the 1st to the 10th twilight. On the first twilight, sacrifice the 6 chosen by the key. On the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. It was obvious that this hinted at the first 6 murders that had already occurred in the chapel and Jessica and Kanon-kun's murders. If this was being followed, we would have to be prepared for yet 5 more people to be killed. On the 4th twilight, gouge the head and kill. On the 5th twilight, gouge the chest and kill. On the 6th twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. On the 7th twilight, gouge the knee and kill. On the 8th twilight, gouge the leg and kill. The bodies of Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa Ba-chan hadn't been found. However, if we reasonably assumed that they were the sacrifices of the 4th and 5th twilight, they would surely be found in a pitiful state with their head and chest. In which case, could we expect that 3 more would be gouged in their stomach, knee, and leg and be killed? Oh man. And 3 people conveniently left for the chapel. Who would that be? I looked around the room, noticing that there were 3 people here, but how should I say it? My emotions seemed paralyzed. Strangely, I didn't find it terrifying. Maria noticed me and with my upper body entrusted to the sofa, gazing lazily up at the ceiling. Apparently, she felt I was slacking off in my riddle solving. She got mad at me and told me I wasn't being serious enough.
なあ、マリア。ベアトリーチェは確か、これを解いたらどうするって言ってたんだっけ？
I was sure that the witch had written in her letter that she would give up on collecting the interest, or something abstract like that. I was optimistically taking that to mean that she would give up on the killing of the whole family. But was it really written with that meaning? I didn't really feel that solving this riddle would actually save us. I thought that even if we did solve it, that would be doing just what the culprit wanted us to, and it would all be a wasted effort.
そんなことはない。この碑文が解けたら、ベアとの儀式はおしまいになる。だからもうそれ以上、誰も死ななくなる。
本当にか？そういうルールを奴が提示してるだけだろ。この謎を解けば、 多分、じい様の隠し黄金のありかがわかるんだろう。奴は、きっとそれを狙って。
狙わないよ。
なんでそう断言できるんだよ。
黄金は最初からベアトのものだもん。自分のものを狙ったりなんかしない。
じゃあ、どうしてベアトは俺たちにこんな大ヒントを授けてくれたんだ？というか、どうしてこんなゲームじみたことを仕掛けてきたんだ？
魔法にはリスクが必要なの。
リスク？よく意味がわかんねえな。
例えばマラソン。完走すれば誰でももらえるメダルと、一番になった人しかもらえないメダルって同じ価値だと思う？
思わねえぜ。つまりなんだよ。結局、奴は遊んでるってことなのか？わざとこっちにチャンスを与えるようなことをして。
違う。それがね、魔法というものなの。どんな大きな魔法にも絶対にリスクや弱点があるの。ないといけないの。
I feel like this is a little hint to us.
魔法って言われるとピンとこねえが、ギャンブルだって考えれば少しは理解できるな。
And gambling is apparently how Kinzo seems to be viewing it himself.
でかく失う覚悟がなきゃ、でかくは勝てない。そして、勝ち目の薄いギャンブルであればあるほど、配当はでかくなる。
その通りだよ。だからベアトは儀式のリスクをちゃんとみんなに説明したの。
Did she?
だからこの謎を解けばちゃんと儀式は中断される。だってそれを約束違反したらリスクにならない。
So the risk to Beatrice is the ritual or the riddle being solved. I see.
これを解けば、奴は本当に約束を守るのか？
花は枯れるのにどうして美しいの？造花は見分けがつかないほど精巧でもどうして美しくないの？人間は死を賭すから奇跡が起こせる。不死の人間がいたとしてその人物に何の奇跡も起こせる道理はない。私たちも人生も魔女も儀式も、私たちはリスクを負わなければ何も成し遂げられないの。
謎が解けたらどうするんだ？ピンポーンって鳴らして挙手して、回答を魔女に伝えて答え合わせをするのか？
それは知らない。でも解けばきっと自動的に儀式は終わる。
マリアは詳しいな。そいつはみんなベアトリーチェに習ったのか？
I want to know if... No, wait. I was gonna say I want to know if Maria wants to solve the riddle. But then I remember she said she doesn't want to get in Beatrice's way. So why is she helping Battler out? So if you don't bear risk, nothing can be gained. That is doubtlessly the way of the world, but it was in conflict with the chessboard theory style of the thinking that I liked. A move in chess is always search for the best play that minimizes the risk and promises an advantageous turn of events. You don't trust your plays to chance like in gambling. That's right, there is no room for gambling in an intellectual game. And yet, this person called Beatrice was carrying out such an outrageous crime, or maybe a ritual, while purposefully imposing conditions for her own loss and announcing them to us. In chess, you always play the best move. So by standing in your opponent's position, you can predict their next move. However, you couldn't say for sure that Beatrice's moves were always the best moves. I thought she was probably making us focus on the epitaph as a smokescreen to mislead us about something. But Maria said that, of all things, was impossible. She said that this was a genuine risk that the witch had taken, and therefore proof that this was a formal, magical ritual. I can't understand this witch called Beatrice. She must be committing this chain of murders with some goal in mind. So why would she deliberately expose the conditions for her own defeat? No matter how I flip over the chessboard and think from my opponent's perspective, I can't understand why she would give up if this riddle was solved. Isn't it almost as though Beatrice doesn't care whether she wins or loses? It's natural that the chessboard reasoning wouldn't work if you played chess against an opponent like this. I don't understand. I don't understand. What is Beatrice after that's making her commit this crime? If she just wants to massacre all of us, she could just do it secretly without this whole crazy setup. There was no need for that scrupulous advance notice, dramatic suggestions of locked room or anything. It's all over-dramatized. I don't get the point at all. As long as I continue to think of Beatrice as a greedy human culprit, will I be unable to understand anything? If I don't accept her as a witch, will I be unable to even set the pieces on the chessboard at all? If she really is a witch, and everything Maria has said is true, then there's only one thing we should have been doing. We shouldn't have bothered with any of the reasoning or the discord or the searching for the culprit. We should have all gathered in a dining hall and pooled our knowledge to solve the riddle. If we had pooled the knowledge of that many people, maybe we would have been able to at least grasp a thread of the answer. We greedy humans, desiring to gain something more than one another, never pooled our knowledge and were being offered up as sacrifices one by one. In the end, were we humans getting what we deserved? We thought we were thinking, but we were actually thinking only for our greedy selves. In the end, chessboard theory is a technique of thinking where you project yourself on your. So greedy people look inside their opponents and see their greedy selves. I looked vaguely at Auntie Rosa. She was probably tired from being under all this tension the whole time. She wasn't sleeping, but she was continually staring vaguely at some point off in space. Auntie Rosa had proclaimed that she couldn't trust anyone who had not been killed. Auntie Rosa's chessboard thinking, she saw herself inside her opponent. In other words, Auntie Rosa is a cruel and vicious person? Might be an isolated woman, unable to trust anyone and unable to let her guard down. Long ago, I think I heard a bit about it from my dad. Auntie Rosa had originally been a very obedient child. Originally, what happened? But because her age was so far separated from her other siblings, and because her confrontational siblings had often made conflicting demands of her, she had been going through psychological hardship ever since she was young. Apparently, when she had taken the side of one sibling, often another gave her a hard time for it. Certainly, Auntie Rosa had said many things today that could be taken as abusive language. But you know what? At least I can understand why she doesn't really care that her siblings died. But those were words that had been engraved into her vocabulary because they had been showered upon her as well. That abusive words, or the many abusive words that she had spoken, were also the same abuse that Auntie Rosa had been showered with in the past. Now that I think about it, I have the feeling that her style of speech today had the occasional traces of Uncle Kraus and Auntie Eva in it. I'd just assumed the similarity came from being siblings, but maybe that wasn't the case. For the first time, I was able to sympathize from my heart with Auntie Rosa, who I had come to think of as being only gentle. Then, what about Maria? Maria had been claiming something for a while. If we could solve the riddle that the witch had presented to us, the ritual would be halted and we would definitely be saved. And I think she also said that Beatrice would never break a promise she made. So that describes Maria herself. She's the one with the most innocent heart who would never break a promise. So she believed that Beatrice wouldn't break a promise either. She could believe that. But wasn't that just an image of Beatrice that Maria had imagined? There's no proof that the real Beatrice definitely keeps her promises, right?
わらわは約束は守る。
Oh my goodness.
気分の謎を解けば、黄金鏡へ至ることができるだろう。さすれば、儀式は終わる。それ以上誰も死にはせぬ。
お前みたいな外道の極みが、ルールを遵守するってのかよ。
わらわが残忍で卑劣で外道であることを否定はせぬ。だが、わらわは魔女だ。魔法を使う。魔法を使うには、守らねばならぬルールがある。わらわは魔女だからこそ、それをないがしろにできぬのだ。それだけは信じるがよい。
これだけめちゃくちゃやってきて、それでもルールだけは信じろってのかよ。
わらわはたぶらかしはする。もちろん人も騙す。人間と変わらぬ。だが、約束として口にしたことを保護にしたことは一度もない。
I'm gonna believe Beatrice can at least keep her promises.
人間はどうか、約束を。
約束を守ろう。ちゃんと履行されてるかどうかは疑わしいな。
わらわから見れば、人間の方がよっぽど利己的で外道な存在よ。人間の約束ほど疑わしいものはない。わらわも時に人間と契約するが、くだらない願い一つ叶えるのに、どれほど厳重に取り決めをするか想像もつくまい。少しでも隙があると、連中はすぐに、叶える願いの数を100に増やせとか、小さな豆粒に変身してみろとか言い出す。
親父によく言われたぜ。契約書ほど怖えもんはねえって。よく読まずにハンコを押すやつは、骨の髄まで喋られて当然だって言ってたぜ。悪徳で荒稼ぎしてやがったんだな。
察しろ。人は生まれながらに詐欺を知りはせぬ。どこかで被った。だから覚えた。押し付け合わずにはいられぬ人の世の罪。はて、どこの魔女に聞いたやら。まあいい。そなたが思っているほど、わらわも無慈悲ではないぞ。
嘘をつけ。これだけの大勢を。しかもまたこんな残酷な方法で殺しておいて、何が無慈悲ではないだ。約束は守るだと。いい加減なことを言うな。俺はお前を認めない。断じてそれを譲らないことだけがお前への抵抗だと俺は信じてる。
なるほど。永遠の苛波であるのはわらわに対しても同じであるというわけか。かもしれぬな。1000年は長い。魔女の強さは魔力より我慢強さで決まるのかもしれんな。なるほど。ベルン教の恐ろしさもうなずける。
And burn is the other witch that we saw in episode 1, or the end of episode 1, right?
何をわけのわかんねえ話をブツブツ言ってやがる。さっさと永遠の災難とやらを続けろよ。俺は1000年でも1万年でも付き合う覚悟だぜ。
Battler is awfully free.
よいよい。少しは戦う気力も戻ってきたようだな。そうでなければつまらない。ほら、対戦ゲームでもよくあるだろう。
Beatrice talking about multiplayer games is kind of funny.
乱入したけど、相手があまりに弱くて拍子抜けで、わざと負けて最終ラウンドまで延長させて、最後に本気でフルボッコにすることとかってあるだろう。
No, that's kind of mean.
例えの意味がわかんねえよ。
ワインと同じよ。
So is she saying that she's purposely being gracious to us? Oh man.
よく熟成させねば輝かぬ。お前は、それに耐えられるワインだ。わらわがじっくり熟成させてやる。そなたを、わらわの優雅な時間を彩る最高の美酒に育て上げてやるぞ。だから、この程度で屈服などするな。わらわを引き続き否定してくれよ。
Okay, I'll do that. I'll do it. I'll keep on denying Beatrice.
何しろわらわは、そなたが認めぬ限り、儚き幻想に過ぎぬのだから。
But that just sounds mocking. Oh, okay, that's actual window breaking.
何度見ても辛いな。
胸中お察しします。シャノンさん、鍵を頼みます。
Whoa, asking Shannon? Oh, maybe it's because she has the flashlight.
お亡くなりになられたとはいえ、奥様はレディーです。
Okay, fair enough.
私には触れることができません。
はい。
Shannon nodded sharply, her expression filled with a sense of duty. George, Gohda, and Shannon had broken a suitable window and were inside the chapel. Since they really hadn't wanted to break one, they had searched for another way in just in case. But in the end, that only proved once again that there was nowhere that anyone could slip in through, and emphasized further how inscrutable was the chapel's locked room. Inside the chapel, time had stopped since they had left it earlier. Of course, even George could not approach that horrible Halloween party again. It was only natural, because it made him remember again the sadness of losing both of his parents at once. And Gohda, thinking of the possibility that their bodies might have changed in some horrible way now that a half of a day had passed, didn't want to let George approach. Wow, Gohda! Shannon followed Gohda's instructions and approached the party table. Normally, Shannon might have resented having another dirty job forced on her. That's what I was thinking when Gohda asked Shannon to do it. But now she could truly understand Gohda's mental state. Despite Gohda's prodigious skill, he had gotten into trouble, lost his job, and been left out in the streets, and then Natsuhi had given him a new life. Now, I want to know what Gohda's backstory is. Even though it had just been a casual employment for Natsuhi, Gohda must have felt that it was a turning point in his fate. Those around Gohda could see that he felt a special kind of loyalty to Natsuhi. So he probably didn't want to lose that feeling, even though she was dead. Oh man. Now that half a day had passed, the bodies of Natsuhi and the rest had changed completely. Small bugs that had sniffed out the smell of death had started to gather. It really wasn't something you could look at directly.
奥様、失礼いたします。
Because of her long experience as a servant, Shannon had an idea of which pocket Natsuhi had kept the key to her room in. Probably in this pocket. Her guess didn't fail her. Just by touching the outside of the pocket, she was immediately able to feel it.
ありました。奥様の部屋の鍵です。
Shannon held the key up high, showing the others that it had been found. As George and Gohda watched her, their eyes opened wide. Oh no, I'm not getting a good feeling. That wasn't the expression Shannon was expecting, so it startled her. An envelope? Butterflies. Oh no, oh no, I don't like this. Because Shannon hadn't noticed. George and Gohda, watching from afar, had been able to notice it at first. Because when Shannon held the key up high, a blizzard of gold leaf had billowed up from around the table. They were countless gold butterflies. Because it was the first time George had seen them, to him they might have looked fantastical. But Gohda already knew. He knew that those gold butterflies, far from being beautiful, held sway over something disastrous. And that gold swelled, trying to suck Shannon in.
シャノンさん、走って。
Shannon also realized that she was about to be swallowed up by gold butterflies. She ran unsteadily, her expression still shocked. As she did, the gold butterflies danced around Shannon in unison. They grouped together. They tried to swallow her up, just like what they did with Kanon and Jessica.
シャノン！くそ、なんだこれは。これが君たちの言っていた黄金の蝶なのか。
早く外へ。こいつらめ。くそ、くそ。
George and Gohda rushed up to Shannon, driving off the group of butterflies. And while the butterflies were scattered, they ran towards. However, they needed good footing to get out of the window, which was surrounded with shards of broken glass. When they had entered, there had been enough time to prepare for that, but now there was none.
扉から出よう。足場を探してる時間なんかない。
開かない。硬い。
貸して。くそ、このオンボロが。
ジョージ様、お早く。
Oh man. If the door can't be open, maybe they can just try getting out with the window, even if it means halfway losing your life for it.
くそ、なめるな。
Man, I just have so much respect for Gohda now. Gohda took off his jacket, swinging it around and scattering the group of butterflies. But he was vastly outnumbered. It was doubtful that it even bought them a short amount of time. George struggled with the virtually broken handle. Just ran out of the window! Its age showed, and it didn't turn well. Brute force alone won't do it. It needs the right angle or some trick. Oh man, by that time I think they would die.
くそー！この化け物どもが！
Just then, Gohda saw it. He was seen by it. In other words, their eyes met. On top of the party table, no, floating above it, backed by a stained glass window, laughing, the figure of the witch. He saw the figure of the witch laughing in the center of the golden whirlwind, allowing the gold butterflies to attend to her whims.
Beatrice.
It should have been Gohda's first meeting with her. But he knew her at a glance. What if he is just hallucinating all of this? Just like the other servants had said, This was certainly the witch of the portrait herself.
So ろそろ晩餐の時間ではないか。すでにわらわはこの屋敷のホストである。そなたらを素晴らしきディナーで歓待しなくてはならぬというもの。おあつらえ向きに3人ではないか。これは実に好都合。
Right, the last remaining 3? Oh, what happened?
開いた。
Oh man.
ゴーダさん、早く。ベアトリーチェ様。
What happened?
足を止めてもよいのか。ここがそなたらの墓場にふさわしいというならそれもよかろうぞ。かつての主の傍らにて死後も仕えたいというその心意気はたたえようぞ。
The golden whirlwind enshrouding the witch burst. It was like an evil hand that literally spread its fingers and was trying to attack them. The group of gold butterflies attacked with a whoosh sound.
急ぐんだ。足を止めちゃいけない。
George's voice brought Shannon and Gohda back to themselves. Standing here now would be the same as a frog being stared down by a snake. They had to resist. They had to fight this incarnation of the new, brutal, and frightening order that had enveloped Rokkenjima. There was no time to take out their umbrellas. The three of them dashed out into the pouring rain. They never realized because they didn't turn around. But the gold butterflies apparently couldn't handle the rain too well, and this hampered their ability to chase after the three. Oh man, that's close! The three people ran from their golden pursuers and flew into the mansion.
愉快。こうでなくては面白くない。
They unlocked the door and flew into the room. A bit of the scent from Natsuhi's favorite gentle incense remained in the room. However, there was no time to let that calm them now.
どこにあるんだ。宝物箱の中って言ったっけ。
話に聞いただけです。
I'm just wondering, but would they not be safer outside in the rain if the butterflies can't get to them there?
実際にどこにあるかまでは。
多分お化粧台かベッドの脇にあるんじゃないかと思います。
Shannon claimed that because of her woman's sense, okay? But in the corner of the bed, there was only an incense burner, a half-read novel, and a pair of glasses. But the dresser was elegant and had many drawers, and would be understandable if she had kept some of her valuables there.
夏日おばさん、ごめん。
He began to violently open each one of the drawers. He had to hurry. He couldn't actually hear footsteps, but he had the feeling that the witch was approaching. He had the feeling that her laugh was approaching. He pulled out the drawers one by one and examined their contents. Every small box for makeup looked like a treasure box, and the amount of effort it would take to inspect all of them made him feel a little dizzy.
この箱かもしれません。鍵がかかってて開きません。
At a glance, it looked slightly larger than a music box. When shaken, it rustled, as though various small objects were inside. But it was locked and wouldn't open.
普通鍵はすぐ近くに隠しておくものです。あるいは常に身につけている人もいるかも。
Oh no.
わからない。
やむを得ない。壊そう。でも乱暴にはできないね。中の鏡を割ってしまうかもしれない。
Right.
こじ開ける道具はないかな。 そう
Gohda looked all over the room, trying to see if there was some tool that they could use. And he noticed the door, which had been left open ever since they had entered. The door? He approached the door to close it and noticed the abominable shadows of people approaching from beyond the darkness in the hall. What? People? No. Butterflies? No, the phrase shadows of people wasn't right, because that referred to human shadows. You can't call the shadows of beings that aren't human shadows of people.
ジョージ様急い
Gohda's voice trailed off. It was the shock from seeing a procession of those not of this world. He was a servant, so he knew all of the servants that worked for the Ushiromiya family. But he didn't know about these. Wait, what? However, they were definitely servants. I'm a bit confused now. They weren't servants working for Ushiromiya Kinzo or Ushiromiya Kraus. Oh man. Holy shit. They were new servants who worked for the new master of the mansion, the Golden Witch, Beatrice, and had goats' heads and bright red boiled eyes of lava. Oh no! As the new master laughed loudly and trimly directed 6 of the new servants, 6 of them! He saw her pierce the darkness as she came. Of course, she was clad in the gold butterflies that were her symbol. Oh no! Gohda hurriedly closed the door and locked it. However, the instant he locked it, it returned to normal, just as though it had been knocked back by a spring or something. Oh, that's so mocking. It almost gave the illusion that some prankster on the other side of the door was opening it every time he closed it. Distance-wise, they shouldn't have reached the other side of the door yet. Then who? How? It felt just like playing with a broken toy. Click, boing. Click, boing.
閉まらない閉めても開いてしまうどうなってんだこりゃくそくそくそくそ
You know what they should do? Break the window, take the box with them, and go find Genji in the kitchen. At least I think Genji can help them. But that might mean 4 people die. I don't know.
鍵がわらわを拒むと思うかその部屋の新しき主をその部屋の扉が拒むと思うのか
It was like the witch could see Gohda's frantic effort through the door. Even as he struggled, their footsteps continued to approach. And when not just footsteps, but their breath too could be heard. Gohda gave up on the lock and rammed the door with his shoulder, making the lock his own large body. Oh no, Gohda.
ジョージ様早く早く早く
ジョージ様これはどうでしょう
レターオープナーかそっちの方がいいね貸して万年筆じゃうまくいかない
George took it and once again dug into the crack under the lid of the treasure box. It looks like it's working. Would it make it in time?
早く
The pressure from across the door grew even stronger. Gohda screamed. It wasn't a war cry for this test of strength. He was terrified. He was simply terrified that, except for a single wooden door, he would be touching something not of this world. Can their blades get through the door? But he was still lucky. He wasn't touching them directly, because they were on the other side of the door. So it was natural that if he did touch them directly, Gohda's cry would turn from something brave into a shameful and yet very real scream that would make glass shatter. Oh. Oh my goodness. Gohda couldn't believe what was right before his eyes. Going through the door, an arm, almost as though it was sticking through the surface of water. Slipped through as though it was perfectly natural, and stroked the back of Gohda's hand as he tried desperately to hold the door closed. It traced slowly up his arm to his chest and then his chin. By now, Gohda's scream was not even vocalized. You could hear a sweet whispering voice from across the door. It wasn't coming from the witch, but judging by the sound of the voice, it was a young woman. But there was no difference in the fact that it was a voice from one not of this world. Oh no. Oh no! Gohda's gone! Ah, that obscene arm burst apart, and they heard the sound of something jumping around the room at an incredible speed. They didn't know what it was. Incredibly fast, small, like steel, or maybe a beetle. When it buried itself right in the center of Gohda's chest and stopped for the first time, they realized that its true form was something like a stick with a strange design on it. Gohda's large body shook, bent backwards, and fell over. As it did, the door opened softly, even though no one was pushing it, and the new masters of this room were welcomed in. It looked almost as though the door itself had accepted them. Please tell me the mirror is almost ready. Oh no! The goat attendants entered one after another, 6 of them. Then that witch entered, and the gold butterflies entered. The room was wrapped in a blizzard of gold leaf which fell and piled up, turning it into a world of gold.
Shannon, ルーレットはそなたとジョージを選んだ。解放の日に感謝せよ。未練はあるまい？ないよな。惚れた男から婚約指輪をもらって、夜も共にしないうちに殺されてしまっても未練なんかないよな。女の幸せを教えてもらいたかったんだろう。ああ、シャーノン、ダメダメ、垂れてるぜ。お前の口元から未練がダラダラ垂れてんのが見えるぜ、シャーノン。
Heck! It was the sound of the lid to the treasure box breaking and opening. When George turned it over, out fell accessories, charms, various small objects that Natsuhi had treasured when she was a girl. Mixed in with those was a pouch that stood out from the rest. He picked it up and checked it immediately. This was it.
見つけた。これだ。
いいって及ばなかったの。
Oh no. Is it because they hadn't removed the pouch?
死ね。くそ。
Oh no. All at once, the gold butterflies attacked George, who was painfully slowly trying to remove the contents of the pouch. Oh? What? Oh, it's like a shield? Just then, it seemed like, for just an instant, a bright red flash lit up the room. And that's a new piece. That red flash seemed to wipe out the gold butterflies that were raging around the room within a circle drawn with Shannon at the center. Oh, is that Shannon's power? Therefore, it was a very divine scene. Almost as though a single streak of light had cut through the clouds in the ceiling in this world of gold. George, who was curled in a ball, trying to protect himself from the group of butterflies, didn't have a clue what had occurred. Oh. Then he noticed that Shannon was blocking the way to him, shielding him, with a serious face that she had never shown him before, as she glared at the witch and the rest.
忘れていた。そなたもまた金蔵の優れた家具だったな。それもカノンよりだいぶ熟成した。
カノン君をよくも殺したことじゃない。よくも亡骸を消し去り、その名誉まで汚そうとしたな。
Oh man, Shannon.
おやおや、シャノン。それを怒ってるのか？カノンに会えなくて寂しいなら、わらわに頼めよ。いつだって会わせてやるというのに。
I don't like this. Oh, why did they disappear? Oh! When the witch snapped her fingers, one of the 6 gold attendants glittered gold and changed into Kanon. It was definitely a sight to make one doubt their eyes. It was definitely Kanon's face. But the eyes, yeah. However, in those eyes, there was none of that sincere glint of Kanon's. They were only the clouded eyes of furniture that did nothing but obey the orders of the witch. George couldn't understand the scene right before his eyes. And he finally understood why Gohda and the rest had been unable to talk about what they had seen in the servant room.
楽しいですか？
ああ、楽しいぞ。死が引き裂いた2人を再会させるのはいつだって楽しい。死で引き裂いて1度、合わせて2度、もう一度引き裂いて3度楽しめるのだからな。さあ、カノン、姉と遊んでやりなさい。もし痛めつけられたら、思いっきり苦悶の表情を浮かべてやるといい。
Aw, that's just cruel. From the imposter Kanon's arm, a strangely shining trail extended. It planned to tear Shannon apart with that. Shannon, who still hadn't prepared her heart, apart with a single stroke.
許さない。一度ならず、二度までも死者を汚すなんて許せない。
Shannon really did mature a lot.
ほざくな。弟に殺されろよ、シャーノン。きっといい夢が見られるぜ。
What? Why did she... Why? What happened? Why did she let go? Or let down her guard? As the imposter Kanon drew several purple trails, he definitely had attacked Shannon. But when he flew at Shannon, it felt like some kind of invisible wall had been set up in front of her. A bright red rippled trail was left on the wall, and it repelled the imposter. No, it didn't repel him, it smashed him. It knocked him back, turning him into gold dust, into pieces, scattering him. Oh wow. The figure of the foolish furniture who had mocked Kanon's form and even disgraced his honor after his death, broke into countless gold butterflies. And then those butterflies themselves broke into pieces, and those pieces were broken into pieces until they were no longer butterflies but a spray of gold and disappeared.
Shannon!
George, just do your thing!
ジョージさんはそこから動かないでください。中心軸をずらしたくない。
これは驚いた。虫一匹殺せない面をしてこれだけの力を見せたか。なるほど。霊境がそなたに力を貸しているというのか。しかしその霊境の本当の力を引き出すには準備も時間も足りないな。そのどちらもわらわは与えはせぬ。
You know, for someone who always talks about wanting to draw out the game and enjoy it to the fullest, it's kind of weird that Beatrice, well, it's not weird, but I didn't think Beatrice would want to end this so quickly. Maybe there's something else that is making her want to end it quickly. The spirit mirror George gripped was letting out a divine radiance and displaying its strength not to submit to wicked power, but that radiance was no match for the witch's sinister nature.
これだから家具は怖い。予期せずしてタンスの角にぶつける足の小指のような気持ちよ。これだから家具は怖い。家具が。家具
私は家具じゃない。そしてあなたを今はとても哀れに思う。
何？ほう。1000年の魔女に100年も至らぬ家具が今何と言ったか。
あなたはとても哀れな人。
Tell her off, Shannon.
愛し合う二人に未練がないわけがない。でもあなたの期待するような未練はかけらほどもない。
語るか、家具の分際で。ジョージと結ばれたくてわらわの靴を舐めた日々を忘れてわらわにそれを語るか。
愛に生き泥濘を這うが人間。それを嘲笑い見下しているつもりであなたはそれにはるかに劣る。私は今こそあなたを哀れに思う。愛し合う二人にとって添い遂げることにどれほどの意味が。意味はある、きっとある。でもそれはあなたの言うこととは全然違う。もっと新鮮にして、あなたごとき邪悪が口にする資格もないほどの新鮮な意味がある。だから私にはすでに何の未練もないジョージさんと愛を誓い合った。その証として指輪を受け取った。それで永遠の誓いは完了した。あなたがどんな邪悪な魔法や悪意で私たちを災難だとしても永遠は汚さない。
綺麗事を詩人のように語るな。
He is not happy.
愛は情欲なんだよ。少女漫画みたく綺麗事ばっかりで語れねえんだよ。
That it's kind of funny to hear shoujo manga come out of Beatrice's mouth.
男どもはお前の匂いに惹かれて群がるウジバエどもなんだよ。そんなこともその年でまだ理解できねえのかよ。お前は失望するぜ。その後ろのメガネ男のどす黒い欲望、一度でも覗いちまったら、がっかり愕然唖然呆然全然ダメだぜ、ショーノン。
Oh my goodness.
ああ、もういいや、語るな家具が。この家具。
She is definitely not happy.
何様のつもりだよ、語りやがって。愛なんて結局は、ど汚ねえ汚物をどう綺麗に見せようかって欺瞞なんだよ。
Does she not like love?
そいつに気づいて人は大人になるんだろう。死ねよ、クズ！家具、スクラップ！お前を汚らわしいウジ虫に変えてやるよ。それでもそのメガネがお前を愛するか、試してやるよ。そいつの愛のど汚ねえ現実ってやつを教えてやるよ。死ねよ、ガラッ。
Oh. The invisible column of light with Shannon at the center started to have bright red ripples drawn all over it at once. The wall did its best to withstand the invisible malice that was trying to corrode it from all directions.
なんだよそれは。抵抗してるつもりかよ。安っぽいんだよ、薄っぺらいんだよ。お前の綺麗事と同じなんだよ、見せかけだけの薄っぺら。見たくないものをベールで覆って隠してるだけなんだよ。まだわかんないのかよ。だから家具なんだよ、家具。ほらほらほらほらほら、削られてるぜ。カリカリコリコリガリガリゴリゴリなんて薄くて情けないんだよ。お前のその薄っぺらな抵抗に比べたら、パルミジャーノレッジアーノの方がまだ削るのに苦労がいるぜ。
The golden windstorm that covered the room gradually shaved away the walls of the column that protected Shannon and George. The bright red ripples frantically drew a pattern of resistance, but the wall was beginning to envelope the two, becoming instead a red wall of despair. It's getting smaller.
ごめんなさい。やはり私には無理でした。
ありがとう。君は僕のために戦ってくれた。それだけで嬉しいよ。
Oh, I guess you're gonna die in the end still. As a column that had once protected them was assaulted and covered with a trail of blood curling red ripples, it contracted and began to suck the two of them up instead. Oh, it finally broke. Oh. Shannon grasped George's hand behind her, so George hugged her shoulders just as strongly.
なんだい。
最後に愛してるって聞かせてください。
さよ。僕は君を永遠に。
Oh no. Oh no. She won't even let them have the final say. It's so cruel to let them not have the last say, but that's just what Beatrice does. And I think Shannon's display of resistance and refusing to bow down to Beatrice, just like Kanon really, but Shannon more so, I think really pissed Beatrice off, and she just couldn't take it anymore, so she gave them a really harsh death. Didn't even want to let them finish their words. But you know what? It's also okay. It's okay for Shannon and for George, because they already know that they love each other, so they don't need anything else. At least they went out knowing that, you know. I think that's really what I want to say. But it's a bit surprising to see Beatrice so angry, really, about it. And she seemed really like she lost her footing with the whole thing about love and lust. And I think there is a backstory there. I think Beatrice has something with love that she does not like. But yes, we will have to see about that. Also, I know I called Rosa like a culprit or like one of the possible suspects. But, I mean, that's only if everything was done by a human. But, yeah, I mean, she is suspicious, but also, perhaps not. She seemed really tired just now when everyone was staring. I mean, everyone is the parlor, and she was just, staring off into space. So, maybe there is that. And I know, Rosa, it seems like she had a hard past, but still, you guys already know my stance about, Rosa and Maria, so I won't say too much, but I can understand Rosa a little more now. Well, I don't know. I think everything is just gonna keep happening very fast, and we will see something similar happen. But you know what? Actually, Natsuhi's backstory surprised me the most. Especially learning about how she descended, like her family has a history of like being Shinto priests, which is very interesting. And I wonder how else it would tie into the story aside from the spirit mirror that she has. And now the remaining 4 may enter the Golden Land? I don't know. Actually, I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I am just kind of trying to process everything that happened to Shannon and George. It's still sad to me. And yeah, anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!